Hello and welcome, Game of Thrones enthusiasts, fans, and lovers of Game of Thrones in general. I hope you enjoyed Season 3. It's all wrapped up. And I want to know what your favorite characters are from Seasons 1, 2, and 3. So this is my list, and you will put your list in the comments below, and then we will compare them, and I'll make a video later, like I did earlier. And so I hope you enjoyed the season, and that's basically the plan. And so let's get right into it here. In case you missed it, I did this for Seasons 1 and 2. So I've got 3 annotations here, maybe only 2, depending on when you're watching this. The first annotation is my season top 10 from Seasons 1 and 2. And then the second one was based on the comments put in that video. I made a fan's top 10 for Seasons 1 and 2. And now you are watching my Seasons 1, 2, and 3 top 10. And when we get close to the start of Season 4 for Game of Thrones, I'll make a fan top 10s for Seasons 1, 2, and 3, like I did for 1 and 2, and that will go up, and the annotation will be there, but that will be a while from now. So in the meantime, to satisfy your craving for Game of Thrones, and the best TV show possibly to ever exist, in my opinion, we will satisfy it with this kind of interesting, as you get to contemplate who is your favorite character, and it opens up a lot of different interesting questions about why you like characters, and then over time you get to see how they rise and fall, which is what I'm starting to see now in my list. So here is my top 10 from Seasons 1 and 2, not Seasons 3. So I'm not going to spend very long on this. You can go watch the video, which is on a big annotation on the screen right now. I mean, you got Stannis, Ned Stark, Tyrion, Robb Stark. The Starks are the top half of the list, really. Daenerys Targaryen, Marjorie Tyrell, Ser Jorah Mormont, Arya Stark, Khal Drogo, and Ygritte. So it's an interesting list, and there have been lots of changes, and we'll see what happens in this list. So just a reminder, comment below with your top 10. I really enjoy reading people's top 10s. You get a wide dispersion of people liking this character and that character. I think last time I did it, there was 30 different characters that people listed in their top 10. So please, even if you can't do a top 10, if you can do a top 5 or 7 or 3 or whatever, it all gets included into the point system, and we determine who is the favorite character for Seasons 1, 2, and 3. So here's 9 different house logos, which I thought was really awesome. And so comment below, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's get down into business now. Okay, just before we get into the top 10, I'd just like to remind you that my top 10 is based on how excited I get when these people appear on screen. So it's not, and there is a correlation there, but it does make a little bit of a difference, as you'll probably see when you think about it from that perspective, because that's how I'm going to evaluate them, is how excited I am to see them when they come on screen. So without further ado, let's get in the top 10. Number 10 is Cersei Lannister. Definitely a bit of a surprise, even from my side. I mean, it's not easy doing these lists, it's really not. Try and write down your top 10, and it really does get jumbled up. And Cersei, really, these first 4 or so characters all are very flexible, from like 14 to down to 6 or so. My top 5 is pretty solid, but these characters are all a little fluid. But Cersei Lannister is definitely one of those characters that is just a love-hate, and because it's such a love-hate with me, watching her, it is very exciting to watch. It's not like watching Samwell Tarly, where you know what you're going to get. Cersei, you have no idea what you're going to get. She's got that wild card factor. She's definitely one of the most complicated characters in the entire show. It's very hard to get a grasp on what she's going to do. In a lot of ways, you really notice her to be a lot like her father. Maybe not as good, as wise as her father, but definitely her values on her family. And you know how she says, like, anyone who is not with us is our enemy, and all those things. So here she has a great scene in Season 2 when she says power is power. She's obviously a very attractive lady, coming up on the end of her fertile years, so it's definitely a very interesting stage in her life because, you know, as Tywin was saying, he wants her to have another child. She's like, no way am I doing that ever again. It's just, she's at a very interesting stage in her life, especially with Joffrey, and now with this Tyrell threat with Marjorie. It's very very interesting. And then you get this lovely scene here, which actually, for no real apparent reason, choked me up when I watched it for the first time. And I don't know why. It was just such a culmination of their journeys, of Jaime and Cersei over, you know, I guess probably almost 2.5 seasons now, probably something in that range, of them not seeing each other. And even though it's incestuous, for some reason, it just it caught me, and you're just so drawn into these characters that are so well rounded and so deep that it almost doesn't matter that it's an incestuous relationship, even though it does. You know, it's complicated, especially with Cersei. So yeah, you get this great scene. It honestly, it was very touching, and Cersei makes this top 10 because she commands so much power when she's on the screen. Even though she's not necessarily good at using the power, she has that power, you know, and she's willing to show that she's willing to show it, even though she doesn't know necessarily all her plans don't go into fruition properly. With like Joffrey and all these other schemes that she's working on, she still has power, and she still uses it. So she's definitely very interesting. I don't know if she's going to make much of your lists. I hope she does. I think she definitely deserves it. She didn't receive much love after the season 2 in the fan ratings, but she's very well acted too. Amazing actress, Lena Headey, I believe, or Headney. Very great. So I think that's it for number 10. Number 9 is Roose Bolton. I know I feel so bad for putting him in here, but I kinda... it was a tough choice. You know, he's the man that killed Robb Stark. Betrayed him and killed him. I don't know what to say. It was terrible. It was awful. But nevertheless, I find him very interesting to watch. And it's not just because he did bad things, like he betrayed or he's doing evil things, and it's really entertaining to watch. It's because he's so complicated, much like Cersei, that it's very interesting to watch because you want to get to know more and more of his character and his history and his relationships with his bannermen and his concepts on how to win the war and such. So here is his first scene, I believe, in the whole shebang. I think this was season 1, where he says basically to the effect that they shouldn't be keeping all these prisoners, they should be flaying them all, because a naked man has few secrets but a flayed man has none, so they could get some information from these guys. But Robb Stark's like, flaying's outlawed in the north, and then Roose is like, well, we're not in the north. It's just all this interesting dialogue, and that was the first time we saw him. And ever since then, he's been extremely interesting. Here he is at the start of Season 3, where... Actually, no, that other one was from Season 2, I believe. Sorry, that's incorrect. This is from Season 3, where he's on the march to Harrenhal, and where he occupies Harrenhal for a bit. But Roose Bolton, I mean, he's just such an interesting guy. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with him in the future. Obviously, what he did was monstrous and terrible to the Stark family. It really is awful. It's awful, but I find myself very much, I almost look up to him for some reason. I don't know, in that he just seems like he's got everything kind of figured out as far as like what should be happening in the North and how the North should be, you know, in control of all these different assets that it has up there. That he just seems to have it all under control, and it's very nice to watch that. So, and he's got these interesting scenes with, like, here he is with Jaime. I'm pretty sure this is the scene with Jaime where Jaime is coming to him and asking him about his, you know, his sister and if his sister's okay, and he basically just trolls him and teases him. and pretends, makes Jamie feel like his sister's dead, but then he's just joking. Like, he's just got all these layers to on top of himself. It's quite amazing, really. And then he goes off and he stabs Robb Stark in the chest twice. Yeah, I feel this is probably the only thing I feel really bad about. I mean, he this was unnecessary for him to do that in a lot of ways, but I guess that's just his way of taking control or taking power from the North, from the Starks, and putting it in his hands. It was just kind of sad to see that Robb was betrayed by Roose, but Roose is nevertheless a very fascinating character, and you get more of that in the finale, the 30th. I think it was the 30th episode, where he's talking with Walder Frey, and you can just tell that Walder Frey is not on the same level as Roose Bolton as far as like playing the Game of Thrones is concerned. Like, Walder Frey is just like kind of like an absent-minded bad guy, whereas Roose is more he's got a lot of complexity and wisdom that Walder Frey definitely does not have. And so then he comes up and says funny lines like "forever young" and stuff like that, talking about the young wolf. And yet at the same time, he's, Walder Frey is very much concerned that this Brandon Tully or Blackfish Tully is Walder Frey is not concerned at all. He thinks he's going to get captured, whereas Roose Bolton here shows some concern in the fact that this guy's escaped and that we should really actually be putting quite a bit of manpower into this. We don't want to leave any loose ends here. So he's quite similar to Cersei in some ways, in that he's a very complicated and not a morally pure character. Very few of these characters really are, but he's just he's very interesting to watch. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens in season 4. We're going into season 4. Wow, yeah, in season 4, I guess that will be crazy, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with him. It should be very, very interesting. And I think that's it for number 9. We'll go into number 8 now. Number 8 is another surprise, and I'm very happy to have this one on my list. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this character, and this one is Yara Greyjoy. Now, last season I had Stannis go from unranked to number 10 on my list because of his performance in Blackwater Bay, and this season it's Yara Greyjoy going unranked to number 8, and largely that is a result of I did like her in season 2 later on. I mean, this is her first, I think, episode here midway through ish season 2, and you're just kind of like creeped out by the fact that she just let her brother molest her, and you're like, that's really kind of gross. I don't get it. But she is actually... Oh, I guess we got a little bit of a gif here. That's kind of cool. If you guys are seeing that. So, I mean, she's just kind of cool like that. She's got, a good understanding of, like, family values and what is important in this war that they're fighting. I don't even like the Greyjoys. I don't like Balon Greyjoy. I don't like Theon Greyjoy, but I do like Yara. I do like their Iron Island toughness. Their words, their sigil, all these great things, and Yara is just awesome. And here she is riding into Winterfell. This is probably one of the most underrated scenes from season 2, where she goes and talks to Theon in Winterfell about how he, which one gave you the harder fight, the cripple or the 5-year-old. I think she says something of that nature. She really just commands a lot of power, and you can see that with the, with her soldiers that she's commanding. They all like look up to her and laugh at her jokes and think she's great. And she really is. She really is great. And that was probably the first time I really thought that Yara was pretty cool and she had something going for her. Because the first time you see her, she's just kind of a creepy. And obviously she doesn't have the good looks of a lot of the other female characters. Because of, I mean, she's actually not that bad looking, the actress, in real life, but they do a good job, if you want to call it that, of making her look more ironborn. And then And then because of her speech at the end of near the end of episode 30, where she says, "I'm going to pick the fastest ship in our fleet, and I'm going to choose the 50 best killers in the Iron Islands. I'm going to sail all the way to the Narrow Sea, all the way to the Weeping Waters, and I'm going to march on the Dreadfort. I'm going to find my little brother, and I'm going to bring him home." That was, like, when she said that, and you had the Ironborn music going in the background, it was just fantastic. It was fantastic. And to see her marching through all these grisly-looking, hardened, tough men, you know, it was just so awesome. I was really excited for it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing her, you know, sail around all the way. She's actually going to go all the way south and around the entire, like, Westeros, pretty much, and go all the way up to the other side through the Narrow Sea and way up. She's basically going all the way around, like, South America kind of thing, from, like, LA to New York, if you can picture that. So she's, like, I'm really looking forward to seeing her, if she does march on the Dreadfort, and rescuing Theon Greyjoy / Reek, who I can think is now his new name-ish. He's probably going to adopt that name and just become, you know, because I think Theon's going to realize that he's not, you know, he's not Theon Stark, he's not Theon Greyjoy, he's neither of those families. You know, he's thrown away the Starks, he was thrown away by the Greyjoys, he's Reek, he reeks, no one likes him, and he's going to embrace him. And here's the final shot of her. Basically, I think this is actually just a photo shoot one, where she's on the boat with her troops, and she's sailing out the fastest ship with 50 of the best men. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. Very much so. That's going to be extremely exciting. And excuse me. And go Yara. I mean, you've got this in the bag. I'm very excited. Hopefully, at the end of next season, I can put you even higher. Number 7. Another surprise person coming on the list. And from this picture, you can't maybe tell who it is, but it is, in fact, Joffrey Baratheon / Lannister, whatever you want to call him. And again, he was unranked on my list. And much like Cersei and Roose, he's somewhat... I mean, this character, I was going to say he's less complicated than Cersei and Roose, but in some ways he's just as complicated. He's just a kid, and he doesn't really, because he seems to have like a chemical misbalance in his brain, and he's got this like abusive drive, you know, to see people in pain and torment them. It's awful. It really is. It's awful. But nevertheless, he made number 7 on my list here. So, I mean, how did he do that? I mean, when we saw the scene where he shot Ross, the prostitute, I was like, I'm done with this crap, okay? He's been so good all 3rd season, except for this shooting up Ross, you know, and then at the end you get Tyrion coming in there and saying how many puppies he killed, and there's all these things. But, like, and then in season 2 he was also torturing Ross, and I think it was Daisy or something like that, making them beat each other, the prostitutes beat each other. I mean, so many times throughout this series, I've been like, oh, Joffrey, I just want to see you get poisoned and bleed from the inside, and just like, just die a painful death and be like, you deserved it, you know? But at the same time, when he comes on screen, he is fascinating to watch, because you just don't know what you're going to get from this guy, you know? You don't know what you're gonna get. He's awesome. You know, his acting is phenomenal. But I think Jack Gleason does his acting phenomenal, top notch. Give the man an Oscar already. Unbelievable. Just the way he yells things like, you know, I am the king. And what else? He said something to Tyrion at the wedding there, at Sansa and Tyrion's wedding. Like, what did you say? It was awesome. It's awesome. And so, yeah. Well, I think we'll just skip through a couple more of these slides. So there he is, obviously on the throne. I thought he'd be dead when he took the throne at the end of season 1. I think he took the throne at the end of season 1. I thought he'd be dead by the end of season 2. He wasn't dead by the end of season 2. He wasn't dead by the end of season 3. He's still going. And then you got these great scenes where he's, you know, just so much depth in his character. You know, I'm going to give Stannis a red smile from ear to ear. And then this scene here, I was like, oh my goodness, this guy is absolutely insane. I hate him. But nevertheless, he gives you that disgusting feeling, but then he gives you like these scenes where I'm just a kid and I don't know what I'm doing, and it's just it's amazing to watch. And here's obviously his most recent scene where he says, "I'm not tired," or whatever. "I don't need to go to sleep." Oh man, he's so great. He is really something else. And to see him interacting with Marjorie and his mother and his grandfather and Tyrion and Sansa and all these people that he interacts with is just phenomenal. It really is. It's absolutely amazing. Number 6, on the other end of the spectrum, shall we say, Ned Stark. Ned Stark was, I think he was number 8 on my list last time, maybe 9, I can't remember. But even though he was not in this season, for some reason, I felt the need to move him further up my list into a better position. I think I don't know, it just seems like the farther we go through this Game of Thrones, the Game of Thrones world and universe and the stories develop and the world is expanded, the more I look back to season 1 and I see Ned Stark and I think to myself, man, what a great guy, and you just wish he had made it through that terrible time. You wish, just put him on the Night's Watch, just let him live out there and be honorable, Ned Stark. Let him go back to Winterfell. And maybe it's a bit of nostalgia, but I didn't even like him that much. If you watch my other review, I think he's just such an interesting and great character. Everyone knows like what he's about. He's a great guy. He's exactly what the audience wants to see in a protagonist. And for the most part, he's kind of annoying to watch sometimes, but I could not take him out of the list, and I ended up moving him further up on the list because I don't know. He just deserves it. He really does. The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. He's just got so many great lines like that. Winter is coming, and especially I think with the Red Wedding happening, you get all this kind of nostalgia where you're like, the Starks, really their family, their house is not eliminated, but it's taken from, it's basically reduced to rubble at this point. And it all starts with Ned Stark, losing his head, and the events that led up to that. And it's just sad to look back on those events and realize what it could have been, and it's sad to see the Starks not a major house in this game and in this Game of Thrones anymore. It's sad. But that being all said, Ned Stark was a great guy, and we do miss him. And I think that we'll see what happens with the votes this season. I'm not going to take someone out of my top 10 just because they're dead or because they're not getting the screen time they used to. That's not actually true. If they're not getting the screen time they're used to be getting, then it's quite likely someone will supplant them. But just because I love someone in seasons 1 and 2 or season 1 does not mean I'm going to pull them out for season 3 or 4 because they weren't in there. I still, this review is a totality review of seasons 1 to 3, and for seasons 1 to 3, I really do enjoy Ned Stark. He obviously is not in season 3 or 2, but he hangs around, this guy, because he's the face of the franchise. Number 5, and here we're going to start to see some repetition from last year's list, where we got Ser Jorah Mormont. Obviously, he's now, I suppose, he's the heir to Bear Island, now that his father has been killed, who was the commander of the Night's Watch, who was, in Craster's Keep and got betrayed and such. And it is actually really interesting, because I kind of forgot this as I was making this video. I realized that how long Ser Jorah has been with Daenerys Targaryen. If you look at Ser Barristan, he just started in the first episode of season 3 with Daenerys, and the second Sons guy, Daario Naharis, just started in, I don't know what, episode 7 or something, or episode 6 of this season, whereas Ser Jorah Mormont has been there since episode 1, I'm pretty sure, maybe episode 2 of the entire series. So you know, he has seen Daenerys go on this a massive journey, whereas, you know, Barristan, and no disrespect to Barristan and Daario Naharis or whatever his name is, but they have come in halfway or near the end, and they haven't seen what she's gone through to get to this point in the struggles. Like, Daario Naharis neither of them met her with Drogo, you know, or before that, or anything of that nature, you know, or even in Karth, for that matter. And then there's always that interesting part that comes up with Jorah, or maybe you don't know about this, where he actually was an informant. It took some help from my brother and friends to figure out that Jorah actually was kind of betraying Daenerys Targaryen at the start, where he was informing Lord Varys about. He would send back information like, oh, so and so, Daenerys is going here. She has these dragons now. She's alive. She's got a kid, and so she would send him quite a bit of information, and that's why this assassination attempt occurred, is because the information was passed from Jorah to Varys, and then to Robert Baratheon, who decided we need to kill the Mother of Dragons. So. Which, she didn't have any dragons at this point. Did she have dragons at this point? No, she didn't have dragons at this point. She will later. So, and then you get that interesting scene, I didn't get a picture of it, where he's in Karth, Ser Jorah is, and he's talking to the woman with the orange beaded face, and she's like, will you betray him again? And he says, never. And that's really awesome. And so here he is talking with Ser Barristan about, you know, his appreciation for Daenerys Targaryen, and I mean, the poor guy is totally friend-zoned at this point. It's really quite shameful. Probably my favorite shot, and one of the most interesting shots of Ser Jorah and Daenerys' relationship in season 3 is the shot after she does the whole Dracarys thing in Astapor and kills all the slave masters. She's standing on an elevated position, and he walks up to her through the smoke, and he's looking up to her, and she's kind of phased out, and he walks up to her, and it looks like he's going to say something, but he doesn't know what to say. It almost gives the impression that she is on another level than him, and he is no longer really. I mean, he does advise her, but she is the leader now. Like, there is no question. Like, there's a distance between them now that they will not be able to overcome again. And that scene, that one shot, it's just a quick, you know, maybe 10-second clip, and it really, I mean, it has a lot of depth in there. And I think a lot of people may have missed it, but it really shows their relationship not dissolving, but just altering into a different path. It's their relationship's not going to be as tight as it was before, which we'll see what happens with. Top 4 now. Top 4. The list gets very tight all up in here, and this person, let's just call her out for who she is. Margaery Tyrell, fascinating character, the best dressed on the show for sure, and probably the hottest actress on the entire show. Her eyes. It's her eyes and her eyebrows. It's just, she's got some exotic, amazing look there, and it's just wild. It's amazing to watch. Obviously, you get her with the whole dialogue of saying, "I don't want to be the queen. I don't want to be a queen. I want to be the queen," which was great. And I mean, there you get another great look at her. But it's not just her good looks. It's her charisma. She's almost ahead of her time in a lot of ways. Like, she's not just trying to win over her allies and her enemies in the political sphere. She's trying to win over the people. Like, she's very much public relations. Like, I'm gonna help people and do charity and all these things and really win the hearts of the people, and that's how I will be queen, you know. And you get that amazing scene where she takes Joffrey out of the, I forget, it's the place where they got married at later, where where Tyrion and Sansa got married, but she takes Joffrey out of there, and Cersei's afraid that Joffrey's going to be like attacked by the mob. But no, they love Marjorie so much, and because the crowd loves Marjorie so much, and Marjorie at least pretends to like, or she puts on this facade of liking Joffrey, then the crowd likes Joffrey as well, and she's just got this overwhelming sphere of amazingness. And here she is at the end of season 2, which really, threw her into the into the political realm of the Red Keep and stuff, and King's Landing, which was awesome, because that's really where she's born to be. And it's very awesome, especially to see her relationship with her grandmother, I suppose it is, yeah. It's her grandmother. I don't know where her mother and father are in the picture. I think her mother passed away? I can't remember. But Marjorie is a fascinating character to watch. She really is. And you can really see that she is the prodigy of her grandmother, and it's really awesome to watch them. I really contemplated putting Lady Olenna into my top 10. She almost made it. She just sat on the outside. Here she is in Season 3, the start of Season 3, being absolutely amazing. My only issue with her is that she didn't really get any scenes at the end of Season 3. I don't think she had any scenes in at least the last 4 episodes, which hurt her. It was kind of sad to see. Probably her last one was Tyrion's wedding, which she didn't really get much time to do anything in. But here she is with Joffrey, and I think in this scene she really learns that this is a long scene, and at the end of this scene, I think she realizes that Joffrey is a monster. She doesn't express it, but I think she's going along with it, but I think she's really seeing who Joffrey really is in this scene, and that was important to her, and Joffrey obviously is totally wowed by her. Very interested to see what happens with their relationship in the future. It's going to be fascinating. Pretty much anything that goes on at King's Landing is fascinating. With Marjorie and Cersei's, if you want to even say it's a relationship, it's like total enmity. And then her relationship with Joffrey, her relationship with her mother, her relationship with Sansa, all these different things. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch in Season 4, and I'm really looking forward to it. And here she is talking with Sansa in that garden, and talking about how they could be friends. I don't know if that was actually when they talked about whether they could be friends or not. That may have been later on. That was an interesting scene, though. But obviously that didn't work out because Littlefinger... Did Littlefinger shut it down? No, Lord Varys shut it down? I forget. I'm getting confused now. I think... that's right. Littlefinger shut it down. Whoopsies. I did a little click there. Okay, number 3. Cutting through the list. I'm kind of sad we're getting down to the finale here already. I'm really looking forward to Season 4, though. Littlefinger. We were just talking about him. Another guy who's this is my skyrocketer of this season. I'm pretty sure he was unranked from seasons 1 and 2, but now he is sitting at number 3, and he is sitting there because he is so ambitious. It makes me... Here's an interesting scene. Let me just go back here. So here he is. I'm pretty sure this is the same scene where, he's talking with Ned Stark, but then he gets this look in his eyes after Ned Stark pushed him up against the wall and tried to basically not strangle, but he was kind of threatening strangling him. And he just, shrugs his shoulder off and composes himself, and he's got that look in his eyes like, it brings back to that story where he said he's not going to fight them in their way. He's going to try and just beat them at his own game. And this is that look, that ambitious, it's hard for them to laugh without heads kind of look. And here he is talking to Stark again about, you're wise not to trust me and all these things. I don't think I liked him very much. He's very unlikable in seasons, 1 and 2, and really he's unlikable in all the seasons. But nevertheless, his ambition and his wit is awesome. I think one of his best scenes is when he's with Ned Stark, and he's talking about how I think they're basically saying they could take the throne for themselves if they acted right now. And Ned Stark kind of wants to do it just because they think the Lannisters will do it. So to prevent that, but Ned Stark's obviously afraid to do it, and what Baelish says is it's not treason. It's only treason if we lose, and that's just his attitude. And I really love that attitude. It's just such a. I remember the scene where Roz is talking to him, and she says, "What do you want, Lord Baelish, or Peter, or whatever she calls him?" And he says, "Everything there is." And he's just got it all going on for him. And plus, now he's starting to get some power. You know, he becomes Lord of Harrenhal. He's going off to marry Catelyn Stark's sister and become the Vale of Arryn, or whatever. I think that's what it's called. Very exciting. And his actor is so good. It's amazing. I just love to watch him. He is so captivating. His voice is like silk, and yet it's just so smooth. He's so smooth, so slick, so deceptive. You could just you feel like he's just hugging you in words, and then gonna boa constrictor you and stab you in the back. It's just, it's awesome. And then his best scene. This is the scene that vaulted him from basically unranked to number 3 on the list, where he says, "Chaos isn't a pit, chaos is a ladder," which is probably my favorite scene from from season 3, if not the entire show. Unbelievable. I remember watching the trailer when it was coming out, when they did the Chaos trailer before the season started, and they had this dialogue: "Chaos isn't a pit, chaos is a ladder, many who try to climb it fail," and all these things. And I was like, that's stupid, chaos is a pit, it's not a ladder. But then, as soon as I saw this scene, and I realized what Baelish was doing with Joffrey and Roz, and how he's, just his ambition and his desire, you realize that chaos is a ladder, it isn't a pit. And fascinating. I was a little disappointed we didn't get to see any more of him in season 3 after this scene. I think we basically saw him sail away to go get married, which may happen off scene. I'm hoping it happens on scene, because I just want to see more and more of this character. It's just fascinating. He's another character like Cersei and Roose and Joffrey and some of the others. Lord Varys too, although he's probably a little more complicated than Varys. Varys is just more of a nice guy. At least he's becoming that. It seems more like that. I'm fascinated to see what happens with this guy. Absolutely fascinated. And with that being said, why is he not number 2 or number 1? Because number 2, I couldn't do it. I could not get rid of Khal Drogo from his number 2 slot, which he held from last year. He is such a boss. He really is. He was so great to watch on screen. It was fascinating. It really was. And when especially that scene where he does the whole, after his Khaleesi, Daenerys, after her poison attempt, he's just going nuts. I'm gonna tear down their castles, and it's just the best speech ever. It really was amazing. His character really was just the most masculine character that the show has had. There has not been a masculine character like him. Just a physical beast. And I hope there's maybe another one to try and fill the void that's left by him, but so far there hasn't been. And yeah, so you get this great kill scene where he drops his weapons and still kills the guy, rips out his tongue, which is pretty gross. Actually, that picture is pretty disgusting. I can't believe a person's tongue, is that the tongue muscles hanging down there? That's kind of unbelievably gross. So that's that. I think that what else do I want to say here about Khal Drogo? Obviously, he gets this stupid infection that just kills him, which is just terrible. It really is. And here he is the infection's spreading, and he goes into basically a coma, and she ends up smothering him, which was very sad. But it really propelled Daenerys' story forward. Although I really did want to see that stallion mount the world, although it never happened. Unfortunately, it never happened. And then he did make a bit of a cameo in the end of season 2, which was very touching, with Daenerys in the House of the Undying going through all the different, basically a bit of a prophetic dream vision thing, slash like her having to, it was basically her having to give up like her relationship with Khal Drogo and her son, who never really existed, to be with her dragons, which was a great finale. And so that's it for Drogo, and I mean, I wish he would. I wish he didn't die. I would have really liked to seen, you know, them take their horses across the sea on their wooden ships, or wooden horses, whatever they called them, and take on the Seven Kingdoms. But that will never happen, because the Dothraki army is divided and broken like it was before. Number 1. If you've made it this far, I'd just like to thank you for watching. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing your comments below and see what you've got. So let's wrap up here. Yes, Daenerys Targaryen is number 1, and the reason being, she was my favorite character after season 1. Season 2, she was, I wouldn't say she was wasting time in Qarth, it just wasn't, it was like she was stalling and her wheels were spinning, and now she's taken like all that, now she's just totally like, went like flying through everything this season. Like, she got out of Qarth, she left Qarth last time, I guess, but she arrived in Astapor, she destroyed Astapor, she arrives in Yunkai, she destroys Yunkai. It's just, everything's going great for her. I mean, you've got this, and plus you've got this great her story arc is by far the biggest arc of any characters in the whole season, the whole series. Maybe Arya Stark could be close to that, but man, this was obviously the season 1 finale, which was fantastic, and absolutely wonderful. It might never be topped. I don't know. There's a lot of great episodes. In Qarth, as I was mentioning, she was kind of just, she was being like spoiled maybe, or needy, or like, she definitely had this sense of entitlement, and because I mean, she did have friggin' dragons at this point, but it was just like, season 1 was such a great, awesome series for her, and then season 2 was like, come on, just you know, burn them with fire and move on. And then season 3 was burn them with fire, but not only that, like, she just got it going. Like, here she's taking on Astapor. That was a great scene as well, you know, where she says Dragados, and the dragons just go nuts. Yeah, her speaking Valyrian is absolutely incredible, you know, and her relationship with Grey Worm and Drogo and all the rest of them. I can't even, Barristan and Daario Naharis and Missandei. I mean, she by far at this point has the most powerful group of. She's the most powerful person, I think, in the world at this point. She really is. She's not a king or a queen, but as Tywin said, just because you have a crown doesn't make you a king. Or I think maybe Tyrion said that, or somebody said that. But she's got the assistant, like, basically assistant coaches there with her, in those people I mentioned before: Greyjoy, Jorah, Barristan, Daario Naharis, Missandei. I mean, that's like, what, 4 or 5 people right there? Great people. And then she's got, you know, 8,000 Unsullied. Plus, maybe, does she have the ones that were not quite Unsullied yet? Is that correct? I think she might have, like, the junior Unsullied. Is that? I'm not sure if she does. But then she's also got, I think, like, what, 2,000 horsemen or something like that, of the Second Sons. Like, she's absolutely got an army. And those may not sound like big numbers, but what it is when you think about it, the Starks were attacking the Lannisters, and they had 20,000 guys, and those are just, you know, ruffian Northerners with axes, and probably not that much training, probably good fighters, but not Unsullied. According to the Unsullied, are the best fighters in the world. I mean, 8,000 Unsullied, I think, could take on 20,000 Starkmen. I would think. But I'm very, very excited to see where this goes. So, yeah, she's got her assistant coaches, she's got her army, and now she's got her people. She's got, you know, 200,000 Yunkai slaves who are, you know, Misa, all over the place, just loving her. Like, in my opinion, she honestly does not need to go back to Westeros. Now, she could, and I think she very much will, but she could make a life for herself in I think that continent's called Essos. She could make a great life for herself out there, you know, conquering slave cities and such. There's really no need for her to go back to Westeros, other than the fact that that's very much a part of who she is to take back her father's throne? I think it was her father's throne. I'm being forgetful. It's been so long since she's been there, I don't even know the relationship anymore. I've totally forgotten it. So yeah, I mean, this scene here I actually cried on because I actually was tearing up, like tears running down my cheeks. And I had cried in a TV. I've never cried in a TV show before in my life, or TV, or shows, or movies, or anything. And when they started saying Misa, Misa, I was done. And they carried her like this, I was done. Unbelievable. That was it. You know, I checked her off. First place. You make me cry in your TV show, you're first place. That's it. And Misa, Misa. That's all I've got to say. Number 1, Daenerys Targaryen, Mother of Dragons, Breaker of Chains, you know, the unburnt. She's got it all. She's got it all. And she's very good looking. Did we mention that? We'll mention that now. So, thank you for watching. If you stuck through, I don't know how long this is. Hopefully it's good. I hope the audio and stuff is good. So add your top 10 favorite characters from seasons 1 through 2 and 3 in the comments below, and I will make up a top 10 based on those comments for before season 4 starts, so around March 2014, hopefully, and we'll see what happens. And I'm very interested to see how the list changed from the season 1 and 2 fan favorite to the seasons 1, 2, and 3 fan favorite. So that's the plan. Thank you very much for watching and listening, or whatever you're doing, or half paying attention, and put your comments below. And I'm looking forward to season 4, as I'm sure all of you are, and have a good one.